Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are yet again doing our top 100 games of all time. This is the 2022 edition. That has been going on since 2017, 5 years.
Yeah, because when was the time we did it with all the guys and that one video that took
all the guys we did the top 10.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, could you imagine doing the top 100 with 6 of us? No, yeah, I think that might have been the year before when we did the top top 10, but I think you and I did the top 100. Yeah, first time in 2017.
Yep.
And
it's the same list. Every year it's the same, right?
Yeah, could you imagine? We just always just do this, see if anyone catches on. But no, this year I was kind of dragging my feet on it, not because I didn't want to do it, of course, but because there were just so many games that I had yet to still play that I was like, that could still make it. But while there still are, I mean, doing the top 100 is always difficult because it's always at that moment in time. And since you're ranking 100 games, you could play one, the next day and be like, well.
Well, and we recorded over several days too.
Yeah.
So then when stuff comes out, and just like spoiler alert, Frosthaven's not going to be on mine, but the box is sitting right here. I just haven't.
Man, what's it like getting games you actually order? That's pretty cool. I have, So this year, of course, I did the Pub Meeple ranking. That's going to be pretty much the consistency. I think it's the third year of doing it. But I did it a little bit different. So normally in the past 2 years that I've done the Pub Meeple, whenever I can convert over my my list from like my BGG ranking, I kind of like clean out what's available. Like I'm like, okay, so this game I have, there's no way it's making it. There's just absolutely no way. I still have it, still a good game, not even coming close. Like for example, because I have all the way up to 400. Yeah. So like the very bottom of this would be like Skull.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's at the very bottom of the games I considered. But in previous years, like I said, I would clean all those out, so they weren't even considered. This year I didn't do that. And I think that's why I got some really weird matchups, because there was a lot more games being matched up against games that were clearly they were better than, so it altered the ranking.
Yeah.
So the other thing that is a little bit different this year is I excluded games I no longer own.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if I don't physically actually own the copy, it wasn't considered.
Like, see, I didn't do that because there's a lot of games like that only one person in the group really needs to own, and I play it with them, so that's why I don't counted those and stuff.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. I mean, in all reality, I should include games that like I really like, but I personally don't own. But at the same time, I'm thinking, well, these are my top 100 games of all time. I should at least own these. But so that's just kind of what I did. That's what made things a little bit different this year. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Got any changes to your list, or is it?
I pretty much just did it the same way. I mean, I think I considered maybe it is like low 400s of games, and just did it from there. And then what I did was, because the Pub Meeple thing is really good and really accurate, but then when you look at the list and it's like, I fudge around. I fudge it around a little bit.
Yeah.
Like if something pops up and like that shouldn't be quite that high. It's not quite, so I kind of I fiddle around with it a little bit, but it kind of is a good skeleton. It does 99% of the work, and then that last little 1% to kind of clean it up.
Yeah, I'm very curious as to how Pub Meeple's algorithm works, because I same thing. It's kind of like, okay, is this one only this high because it just happened to go up against certain games, and it's like just the way that I had chosen the previous games. It's just like, oh man, you must think this is number 2 of all time. It's like, okay, no.
Yeah, it's a good starting point, and then
it is. And that's why I usually do it twice. And I did do it twice this year. But it was weird because it's like I see the first one and I'm like, yeah, this looks pretty good. And then I see the second one and I think the same thing. Then I was going to start comparing them. And as I started comparing them, I was like, no, the first one is still the best one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started with the top 100 games of all time, the 2022 edition, starting with the honorable mention. This will be, this segment will be 101 to 91. Am I first?
Yeah.
Cool. Actually, let me check. I have 4 new games.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I have 4 new games as well.
All right. Awesome. All right. So my number 101, the honorable mention, is an old game that was originally on the list it was in 2021. It was number 74. So it fell 27 spaces, almost still sticking into the top 100. And in 2020, it was 79. So but I just haven't played it in quite some time, but it's still extremely solid. And that is Power Grid. Power Grid is an economic game where you are trying to run different factories using coal, wind, uranium, or whatever the other resources. But in the way that you win the game is by being able to power a certain number of factories. It looks absolutely atrocious. It's such an old game, but it's just such a very solid kind of economic game where you're going into different cities trying to basically control them, and then you branch out to other various cities. The numbers in between them are how much it costs to actually go over. So you have to manage money. That money that you're trying to get will allow you to buy resources that you need to spend to run various plants. And I also just really liked how that system worked. Of course, as you buy, as resources get bought out, they become a lot more expensive to actually get. But if you're first, if you're in the lead, you have last dibs in actually buying. So being in first place is actually really hard to maintain it, just because you have to always pay more than everyone else. This game has been supported very well. There are tons of cities. The base game gives you I want to say, is it Europe and America?
Yeah, I think it's Europe and America. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the one that starts out with, but there are I think 4 to 6 other maps. That might even be less than what there actually
I think there's more than that even. I think there's, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if you're bored with the base game, there are tons of map packs out there, which is fantastic for this kind of game. Still sneaking into the top 100, Power Grid.
Yeah, this one's not in my top 100, but it's definitely a good one. I mean, it's one of those I don't own anymore because I really enjoy it, but nobody else I ever play it with likes it. So it's like, you know.
Yeah. I've heard that same thing. I've heard a lot of people just they've played with others who just really mapped it out and took all the fun out of it, and it's like, dude, find your group. Find a group that likes to do that. Just don't come in and be that kind of player.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, my honorable mention for this top 100 is a game it was 44 last year, and it was new to my list last year. So it fell a little bit, and I think it just fell just because there's going to be a theme with a lot of stuff on this list that I was busy playing a lot of new stuff and a lot of campaign stuff. So a lot of these things kind of fell off a little bit.
Man, I'm so curious. Sorry. I think because you mentioned it was new last year.
Yeah.
I think a lot of new games from last year fell as well. I'd be very curious to know how many new games go up, But
right.
most of them, it's like, oh man, this is new. It's so good. And then you never play it again. You're like, eh.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was just curious about that.
And is this still a great game? I mean, we've said this before, if it's still in the 90s, 80s, 101, whatever, that we're putting out of a ton of games. So there's still
this is out of what, 400? I have 400 that I considered. Yeah. So
this one is Cubitos.
Nice. I think this will go up next year if it gets the
Yes.
expansion.
Yes, because and that's even though there's a lot of replayability in this game, just having more maps and stuff I think will be nice. But this is one of those games that it's a racing game and it's dice drafting and it's push your luck and it's very simplistic looking, but it is a blast. You have this whole stack of cards per color of dice. So the dice stay the same, their faces and everything, but they have, I can't remember, like 7 or 8 different versions of.
They have a bunch of racers, yeah.
Yeah, and so it changes the game every single time, and the tracks are really small. And I think the base game comes with 4 tracks. But
I think so.
yeah, but you just race around and you buy dice, you use them. There's that push your luck because if you ever roll, if you roll all blanks on a dice, then you bust and you don't get to.
I think you get one free reroll. If you roll all blanks once, you can that's when you can push your luck again.
Oh, really? I've never played it that way.
Yeah, huh. you can't. Yeah, it's not just immediate bust. If you roll shit, you can. That's when the push your luck starts. Maybe I'm playing wrong.
I think it's that way unless you have if you roll, you have to at least have 3 symbols. But once you have 3 symbols and you roll blanks, then it's a bust, I believe, or something.
That might be correct.
Yeah. There's something like that. So your initial rolls aren't cut because those initial dice you get only have a symbol on one of 6 faces and stuff. So I think it's once you get, if you ever have 3 or whatever, then it's pushing after that. But yeah, it's just one of those. It's really light-hearted, and you go through and it's, it's just fun. All the combinations and stuff you can get with your dice and it's just a solid production and everything, it's
except for those boxes.
Those boxes suck. Yeah, I want to just get those little tiny little Rubbermaid container things, the little cups, and cut the dice faces side out and stick it to the front of them or something. Yeah, exactly. That's really all they. But yeah, the expansion's gonna add more maps, more cards for the dice. I don't think it's adding new dice.
No, I mean, in all reality,
I think it's just cards and maps.
He needs to do a massive map pack.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this was one that kind of came out of nowhere. That box cover is just as weird for what the game is, But yeah, let's Cubidos, my honorable mention.
Awesome. Okay, well, my number 100 just snuck in to the top 100. It is actually new to the list. And if you had asked me what I thought about this game had I only played the base game, I would have been like, yeah, it's fine. But I have recently I did a video on every single expansion. So I did the base game run through, and then I did, one for each of the expansions. And this is one that I believe that you are still actually looking for. But it's a surprise hit, sneaking into my top 100 because those expansions are solid, and that is.
Oh, yep.
Endless Winter. I refuse to say the secondary name because it's so stupid.
Paleo Americans.
Yeah, that in itself is not dumb. It's just why? Why? Just call it Endless Winter.
Maybe they're gonna come out with another core box at some point. And it's gonna be Endless Winter, caveman, or something different.
Metho Americans, or if that's even a word. Yeah, exactly. And that's the only reason they would do that. But Endless Winter is kind of the one from what took me by surprise. A buddy of mine said people were comparing this to Lost Ruins of Arnak and Dune.
I've heard that too.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I can see why, because it's a slight deck builder and a worker placement game. Fine. Okay. The base game of this is fine. I was thinking, I still kind of enjoyed better than Dune, but I definitely don't like it as much as Lost Ruins. But when you add in the expansions, Fantasia Games killed it with the way they did this Kickstarter, because one, every expansion fits into the box, so you just have the base game. And while the base game is very just kind of it's a good starting point, the modular expansions just accentuated every different section of this game to make it a lot more strategic, and you can just pick and choose what you want to add into this game. So it just enhanced it that much more for me. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of one of those games. Is there a picture?
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah, so I mean, So you have a slight area control of those tile maps down there. That's going to get you at the end of the round. You get like an eclipse phase, which is like where you get all these bonuses. So there's a small area control there. You have deck building with multi-use cards of like cards that give you labor, which is like your currency. To if you go to a certain action spot, they enhance that. You're going out hunting for animals. It has set collection. There's a megalith board, which is kind of another area, not area control, but like resource, like first dibs, where if you want to go somewhere to try and get a resource for other people. There's a lot going on, but it's not like overly complex. And even adding in the expansions is just like, for example, you have those 5 decks down there. Those are the starting 5 tribesmen that you can go out and get. There's an expansion called Ancestors that come out with a whole new set of 5. And you don't need to play with all 5. You can mix and match which 5 you want. You just can't have the same type. So there's so much customization on this game that whenever the top 100 came out and I was ranking it, I'm like, yeah, this is extremely clean. Like I think I still prefer Lost Ruins of Arnak. Watch, I'm gonna look at my top 100. It's not even in it. But yeah, this one I can see, because this one is just one that's so easy to break out and also kind of set up and play. And I've enjoyed my time with it. Solo mode is fantastic as well. That's how I basically tested out all the expansions. It was just easier to do it that way. But yeah, every time I played an expansion, I was thinking, damn, they knew what they were doing. I think they methodically made the base game simpler because they knew they had these modular expansions. So if that's what their design process was, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out on Fantasia Games.
Yeah.
So that's my number 100.
I'll nab it at some point.
Yeah, when you can find it for the price it actually is.
Well, that one that you tagged me in wasn't bad. I just am not looking at really buying much right now.
I see.
Stuff, but just saving money a little bit for Christmas. All right. So
That's fair.
My number 100 is another game that was new to my list last year, and it slipped from 67 down to 100. Mainly, it's one of those that have fallen by the wayside just a little bit because there's a lot of setup to it and a lot of tear down, just all that stuff with it.
Okay.
That is Warfighter,
World
War II tactical combat card game. That's a mouthful. But pretty much I got this because playing solo with this this game, one of those you just play solo. It says 1 to 6 players, but just play it solo.
Yeah, don't bother.
Right. So pretty much what this is it's a card-based game. You're going to be building your squad at the start. There's different scenarios. The core game comes with the Americans, British, Germans in it. So that you can build from there. There's these different scenarios. And you are just you build your squad with weapons or whatever kinds of stuff. And then you just battle your way through the objective. I like that board because it gives you it comes with that board. It has all the turn sequence and all the attack sequence and all that stuff on it. So there's a lot with this. Like the rule book is pretty in depth. This is not a simple game, just because there's a lot of rules and a lot of terms. Like when you open up this box for this game, it comes with, I want to say it's one of those fold out books, and I think it's like got 4 sections front and back of terms, like keywords and stuff. So there is a metric ton of stuff. But they're realistic one and they make sense. It's a very thematic deal, and that's what DVG does. That they make war games, and they're really in depth. And I like this one because it's a kind of a deck building card based type thing.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't take super long, 30 to 60 minutes, to run through. Generally, you die. It's not an easy game. But what this new version does, because this is the 2nd edition and stuff, is it has a new combat system, and it lets you, when you are firing your weapons, you you get to your range to the target. When your ammo stuff, you use suppression fire, cover. It all takes place with one die roll. So I don't know if you can really tell on those cards. There's a lot of different numbers on those cards.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you roll one dice, all these things go off of that one dice. So you're not like rolling dice 500.
Oh,
So
okay, interesting.
you pick what you're going to do. You roll one dice, and then
So
all of them
if you
fire off.
miss, like you miss with everything.
Well, but it depends on what you're picking, because certain
Oh,
numbers,
okay.
like a 0 may miss on a shoot, but it may be a really good deal on a suppression,
Oh, okay.
and stuff. So I mean, you just kind of you can mitigate the bad rolls by making it positive one way, negative another. So that way, if you do fuck up, you can still get something out of it.
Okay.
But that's the reason I like this solo, is because you don't have to sit there and talk with somebody else about dealing with it. You just kind of set it up yourself and go, because there's a lot going on, and I think it would make it twice as long if you're trying to plan and everything for it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I can see
and
that.
I mean, if you get ever look into this, there is so many expansions to this game. Like
That's wild.
there's every army in the world. There's several decks per army. There's all these. It's bonkers. I have this Footlocker. It's a big box that looks like a Footlocker army, and
Okay.
it's just full of cards. Like I
Dang.
haven't even touched. I've only touched maybe about 20% of them.
Yeah.
And it's a fun one, Just it's got the realistic photography on most of the cards, and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's pretty neat.
All right.
Anyway, that's my
Good
100.
deal. Cool. All right. My number 100 is my second new one to the list, and I actually just got done
Your number
recording.
99.
Huh? What did I say?
99.
100? Yeah, 99.
Yeah.
Nope. I want to talk about Endless Winter more. My number 99 is my second new one to the list, and I just got done actually playing the solo variant for this, which is probably the only way I will ever play this game again. And I'm actually very surprised that it jumped in. But as I was playing, I played this multiplayer, I've played this solo. It's extremely clean, and it was actually one I got in that I was expecting to get next year, and that is Weather
Yeah.
Machine, the newest Vita Lacerda game. It has an extremely high learning curve, probably more so than a lot of his others. Like this one and On Mars, I feel like are probably his two most complex games, but I've obviously played On Mars more, so this one felt heavier. But as I played this like a lot more after that, I was like, okay, no, it might be, but it's still pretty chaotic. The theming of this game is Professor Latif, which is Beetle's name backwards,
Oh,
is
interesting.
he created a weather machine that controls local weather, but every time it went off, it would cause some disastrous extreme weather somewhere else in the world. So you're trying to
Jesus Christ.
I know. You're trying to, I wouldn't even know where to begin on how to teach you. I do, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, but so the theme is you're trying to run experiments, work with the government to try and fix all the extreme weather. There is a lot going on in this game. It obviously looks like if someone were to see this picture, you would know exactly who designed it. But I would love to psychoanalyze Beetle just because somehow he makes this chaos shit mess of a board, and yet when you're playing it, it feels you're like, yeah, this all makes sense. I don't know how he does it, because I mean, I've seen other games that try to do this same thing, and it's just like, no, you had this is a mess. So yeah, there's a lot going on. You're like the left side of that board is the government area. That's how you get government subsidies. Middle of the board is where you run experiments, and the right side of the board is where you take what you've learned in those experiments and fix the disastrous weather effects. Not as intuitive of a game. I feel like most people's first game of this is going to be very frustrating because it's kind of it's an efficiency game. If you've ever played Kanban from Vedal, that's like efficiency the game. This is kind of like that. And while you're not starved for resources, you're gonna feel like you are, especially the first time when you don't know the nuances. So has a pretty steep learning curve. This one made it above like some of his other ones because I really think this theme is super cool.
Mhm.
And you're engaged the entire time. Like you're always trying to do forward thinking, has a lot of forward planning of what you need to do. Not overly long either. And the solo mode is by David Turczi, so enough said there.
Yeah.
But I should say the solo mode, David made it to where there's 2 bots that are moving around the board, but they share one deck. And it's so good. I don't know how he did it. I would imagine he tried to do it with one bot and it just didn't work, and he found a way to make it work with 2. But I've only the run through for this is gonna be just the solo mode, and usually I
Right.
do both. But I just did it solo, and I'm like, yeah, I get to kill 2 birds with one stone, and it's heavy. It's a heavy game. But yeah, sneaking into the top 100. Weather Machine.
Awesome. I can see that one going up for you probably.
It's
Maybe.
weird because this is why I said I was surprised it made it onto the list, because while none of his games have ever been bad for me, like spoiler, well, Weather Machine might be up before, but if it's not, spoiler, this got a 7 out of 10 for me. Kanban also got a 7 out of 10 for me. His lowest game has only ever been a 7, and then they go up to 9 because
Right.
they're all that good. Here's the thing. After playing this one, his games feel more like Euro experiences. Not
Yeah.
like, I don't want to always set this up and play it, but like you feel really good when you do play his games, but it's like, man, they're just kind of daunting, even for me who has played all of his games multiple times. Be like, I really just don't feel like it. So maybe it might go up as time sits, but this is like I just did the solo run through yesterday,
Yeah.
and now we're talking about it. And I'm kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, we're gonna go from one heavy game to another.
Mm.
I'm just joking. My number 99 is a
Oh,
game that has been on my list for many of our lists. Um, it went from like 31 to 62 to 86 to
okay.
99 now. So it's
Dang.
been just it's just
Like,
slowly creeping. Um, but it's one I know you like too, so I'm interested to see if it's on yours. That is Sagrada. Um, I do not have any of the expansion stuff for this, so this is just strictly just base game stuff.
just base game.
Still good. I mean, it gets played. I need to get some of that other stuff maybe to breathe a little more life into it and may bounce back. It's just I haven't purchased it and stuff, but this is one of those games. It was when did it came out? There was another game similar to this.
2017.
Yeah,
Azul. I mean,
yeah,
Azul
it was
stained
Azul.
glass.
That's the one I was thinking of. They both kind of came out at the same time, and
Sagrada came out in 2017. Azul stained glass came out in 2018.
okay, yeah, and this one's better in my opinion. Just mainly because I like dice. It's really pretty when you get to the playing, putting the translucent dice out on the windows and everything. It just looks neat when you get done with it. Plus the replayability on a game like this is more than like an Azul, just because you have your different cards that you're going to put into your little board there that's going to change.
Yeah.
And you get to choose. That's another cool thing they did with it. You get to choose which one you want to put in there. You can make it as difficult as you want to make it.
Exactly.
And you get more benefits if you make it more difficult. So
yeah.
But this is just one of those that I really should just buy the expansions. I don't know why I haven't.
Yeah, or you can just get Sagrada Legacy.
No.
I did back that.
Yeah, I think just getting the expansions for this, because I know there's some that add more.
Just
What
more
is
content.
the first expansion they came out with is the one that lets you have like something to do with the extra dice out in the
Yeah, they
choosing
have it
pile
to
or
where
something
there's
like
like
that.
clear dice, but they're higher value.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
then yeah, because they did like 3 mini expansions that were part of like a set.
yeah. So So this is one, it's still hanging strong. It's been on here for, the last, well, counting this year, last 4 years. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean,
I totally
this
get it.
Sagrada, my
All
number
right,
99.
good deal. All right, my number 98 was new, and so this is where it's which is where it's interesting because it was very close to its counterpart last year. Was 59 last year, and it fell 39 spots. And last year so it was new last year. And whenever this came out, it was kind of like, oh, which one of these two is better? But as time has gone on, it's kind of like, yeah, I think the first one is better. Although this one is still really good for different reasons, and that is
Yeah.
Dinosaur World. Funny enough, when this was announced, it was kind of like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? You made Dinosaur Island, and now that Jurassic World is out, you gotta capitalize on that. But whenever I played it, I was like, oh, okay, this is really good. And I've actually found that sometimes whenever, because like usually when some games come out, it's kind of like, oh, if you didn't like this game, you're not going to like this one. I've actually found multiple instances where if someone didn't like Dinosaur Island, they liked this one, and vice versa.
That would be my deal. I prefer Island.
I do too. Spoiler for later on in the series, but yeah, so this one actually is a little bit more grandiose. I mean, it's a massive freaking table hog, and I have a 4x6, and it basically takes up the whole thing. So if you want to go to the next picture,
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, so you have various like bigger tiles. Like instead of having the individualized like tiles where you're just making your small little island, you are making a massive theme park. These are tiles for the dinosaurs, and so it's kind of like they have their own pins in them. If you're familiar with Dinosaur Island, then this I feel is a lot easier to jump into, because you just have that experience. It plays pretty similar to Island, but
The symbology a little bit too, because a lot of the
exactly.
stuff is the same.
Exactly, and you utilize the same, really the same symbols. Like you still dice draft to get your DNA. You still have your sections of like, but now instead of having a small kind of island where you have a concession stand here and maybe a one dinosaur, this is just basically that but bigger. And the only way you actually can like score a lot of stuff is there's a section where you have your Jeep move around the theme park, and that's kind of like how you get your excitement and how you get your victory points. And it's a cool concept. Like I actually kind of like that of this game, is that you have to drive through. That's what people are seeing. That's what they're getting excited about. But the return on victory points is less if you keep showing them the same thing. Like for example, if you buy a security section, you can actually show someone that once before you're not getting any more points, and it makes thematic sense. Oh yeah, this is where security. I mean, that would be interesting the first time if I went. Be like,
Right.
oh, so how do you keep all these dinosaurs from killing people? Oh, here's our fabulous security staff, and you're like, cool. If you went back and they showed you the security, you'd be like, yeah, I already saw that. This one is one that I feel you need to get the insert, like a wooden insert or something, because it is a mess of a setup. And that excitement decreaser are these tiny, tiny cardboard tokens that you have to like, oh, okay, well now I need to find the 1, the 2, the 3. It's just kind of a mess. But other than that, like clearly it's fallen. I haven't touched it as much, but I haven't touched Dinosaur Island either. And that one I think is just, I don't know. I don't know why. I cannot pinpoint why Island is better than this one.
I like and I've only touched this one once, so I may be totally speaking out of my ass on this, but I think the Dinosaur Island thing is like it's like those 4 mini games, like
Yeah.
combined, like the just all that stuff. It's easy to teach, I think, Dinosaur
Okay.
Island, just because you can
Yeah.
teach it by section instead of trying to teach it as a whole, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
But I mean,
and a buddy of mine, he's been on the channel a few times now. He actually hated that portion of Island. He just felt they were too just disjointed of
yeah,
mini
and
games, and he
yeah,
felt
I
this
can
one
see
was
that.
more complete. So honestly, I own both. I actually think this is one instance where you can own both. You don't have to though. It's not like if you like one, then really you don't have to bother with the other. But if you happen to own both, you're gonna get a different feel and a different experience from both.
Right.
But they are very similar. So I will applaud Pandasaurus for, not just doing a shitty cash grab where it's like, this is Dinosaur Island but bigger.
Yeah.
And it is, but it plays a little bit different. So it's still fun.
Get ready for Dinosaur Universe
Oh my
coming
god.
to you in 2024.
It's in space. If they take that's what they're gonna do with those movies.
Yeah.
And I will hate it.
It'll be a crossover, Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic Park. Yeah, you already have.
He has to play both parts. He just does this the entire time to like everyone. Like Galactus just calms him down. That was my number 98.
Perfect. So my number 98 is an oldie. Not super old, but it's kind of a game that has crept back into my top 100. Like 4 years ago, it was at 60, and then it went down to 129 and 110. This is the only one on this section that actually rose for me.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those ones that kind of it's an introduction worker placement game that came out a handful of years ago, Dungeons and Dragons themed. And that is, gotta click the picture here, bud. There we go.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
This one, and this is with the expansion, Schools of, the school work and all that stuff, just because that makes it a little more decision heavy and stuff. But this one's still just one of those ones that just kind of, I've played it a few times this year and have enjoyed it, continue enjoying it. The Skullport deal is awesome with doing really powerful actions, but you take those skulls, and the more skulls you have, the more negative points they're worth. So you kind of bounce back and forth with that. And it's a very clean game. I know it gets to the point, like I would also say another thing to make this game more helpful, more thematic, I guess, to get into it more is to get the D&Deeples, as they're called. Just because like your fighter is actually shaped like a fighter instead of just orange cubes, black cubes, white cubes, because then you're pretty much just saying, I'm going to spend these 3 whites and 2 blacks to do this thing, so it kind of gives it a little bit more theme to it. But like this is just one of those ones that kind of fell by the wayside for a while, and then I jumped back into it a little bit and just kept having fun with it, and I play tested the app, the iOS app for this, and played a ton of it, handful of years back, and I think I got burnt out on it a little bit, and I'm just kind of jumped back into the actual board game version, and it's still strong, and it's one of those you can bring to a kind of a more laid back game day, it's not a difficult game by any means. You pretty much just getting these cubes, pay the cubes to do this action to get victory points. You just kind of go back and forth, but there's something nice about the simplicity of it too, and it's a good transition game for role players. If you have role players that aren't playing board games, kind of be like, hey, I got a cool D&D game here, try this out, see what you think and stuff. And but yeah, I mean, that's really not much more to say about it. I mean, it's a pretty solid worker placement game, and
when did this game come out?
I think
2012.
It was one of the early
10 years.
I mean, it's still a good one, I think.
I know a lot of people still love it.
Yeah, it's just a good. I lost the word.
It's like a staple game.
Well, to get new people into the deal. Gateway, that's the word. I knew it was a G. Gateway game is how it is. So, but yeah, I mean, that's Lords of Waterdeep.
All right. My number 97, this is actually going to be, I was just talking about instances of new games, seeing if they rise instead of fall. This one is definitely rising, like 100%. There's no way it doesn't, unless for some reason this game ends up being weirdly shit. But The reason why it's only a 97 and not higher is because I haven't played it all that much. I'm gearing up to actually start this as a series on the channel. Very stoked to dive, to sink my teeth into it. But I knew it had to be on the top 100 because it's the games I have played of it have just been amazing. And that is Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. This is one that I actually got to demo at Gen Con this year, and I had just the worst kind of guy at that freaking demo table. He wasn't even playing. He was like a bystander who decided to insert himself. And I'm not gonna go into the story. We'll definitely be talking about it in the series because the people I'm playing it with were there too. But he's one of those guys that you look at and you're like, you're here by yourself, aren't you? You don't have any friends. Oathsworn has definitely taken, the industry by storm for being a legacy style, massive, campaign boss battler. And this was one I think last year, whenever we had been talking about boss battler games that were coming out. This was one that I knew of. Finally got everything in. And yeah, like I said, I've only done the main, the tutorial and the first kind of encounter. And there's a bunch of encounters here. So essentially, like I said, boss battler, where you have I can't remember what they call it, like a battle system, a battle flow, where whenever you're playing cards, they go into like a loadout. So it simulates like Diablo or something, where it's like, oh, I'm using this ability. It needs to cool down before I can get it again. So you have this battle flow board where it's like, I want to use this really powerful, arrow attack, but that's going to go on 3. And so I'm not going to get it until I can actively get it to cycle out from 3, 2, 1 to 0 and back into my hand. Utilizing damage to be able to go and hit specific spots of the creature. Like on the right side, you see the mother rat swarm. She has those 6 red dice. Those are weak points, or those are areas that you're trying to damage, and you're trying to remove those dice. The AI system, of course, interacts with stuff like that. The narrative, while I haven't really gotten that far into it, is from what I've heard of a lot of people are saying that it's like exquisite writing. The app, which there is an app, is voiced by the guy who played Braun in
really?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think it's him. Yeah, Jeremy Flynn, I think it's his name, because
I've
so yeah, this is one that it's at 97 because I barely scraped the surface. And they did something in this game that I could not praise enough. They have, so whenever you're attacking, it's a push your luck. So you can roll as many dice as you want, but if you roll 2 blanks, you miss. So it's kind of do I want to do a lot of damage here? But I might risk it. But you have ways to re-roll. So they have dice over on the right. They also have the Gloomhaven decks. Well, not the Gloomhaven decks, but that you can choose to draw instead of roll. And I just think that's so nice because I know I'm going to have players who love rolling dice. I would much rather have cards. So instead of just compromising, you just have both. So yeah, this one, very excited to jump further into, but yeah, this one is right now sitting at 97.
This is one because I didn't end up backing the new Kickstarter just because the level I was going to have to go into was pretty expensive.
Oh, to get it all, yeah, it probably would be 600.
Yeah, but I did a lot of research into this before, and I really like the hidden bosses, how they're in boxes. So because you get a big CMON or something like that, you see all the miniatures when you open it up, everything. So oh well, there's this big guy I'm going to end eventually fight. These are in boxes, almost like legacy style.
It's it's 2 massive mystery chests. And I was originally going to do an unboxing for this because it was a lot. And as I opened it up, I was like, oh, I actually can't show any of this. And the base game, it's fucking heavy. It is a heavy core base game, and they actually have a decent insert for it. It's not just, oh well, here's this big stack of cardboard you have to punch out, deal with it. No, it's organized extremely well. I'm very pleased by it. So I know Shadowborn, this is the only game that they've done, but if this is kind of going to be their staple game, if they want it to be a lifestyle game, then I mean,
Yeah.
they're off to a great start.
I will eventually, probably when I have the money, just buy a whole
Mhm.
set of it.
Yep.
People I listen to on online stuff are calling it one of the best of this style of games. So it's like,
Yeah,
and then playing it solo is awesome and everything. So I'm just like, yep, I'm probably gonna get it at some point.
yep. It's at a 9.2
Yeah.
on it's so, and the way that they've run their app, like it actually has like tutorials and stuff in it. It's like the app is all encompassing. If you need a refresher on a rule or something, you can just go into the app and yeah, they did a really, really good job, and the gameplay is just phenomenal. So I can't wait. I can't wait to actually to get further in this.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, my number 97 is a game that has been on my list for, I think, since we started this or close to it. And it's kind of been hovering around the same area. It fell a little bit this year. It was 74, then 78, then 76, went down to 97. And that's mainly just because it's a dead game now. And I really haven't gotten it to the table a whole lot. But it's still a blast to play when I can find somebody to play it with. And that is Star Wars Destiny. This is one of those, it was kind of their Fantasy Flight's little collectible card game kind of thing. You'd buy a pack and it would come with 5 cards and a dice. And so every pack had a dice. You'd get, whatever they had the rarities and all that stuff. I went through, since it died, there was a big sale on them at one of the online retailers I use, and I was buying booster boxes like crazy. I think I had like 9 booster boxes come in of packs, and I was just sitting there opening them and everything. I have so much crap for this game. But it's one of those games that it's a 1v1, and you make your team. One person's going to be the good guys, the rebels, and one's going to be bad guys, and you're just battling it out until your characters are dead. And when you have a deck, you build your deck. When you play a card, and certain cards have dice with them, so when you pay for that card to get out on the table, then you put the dice with it and you roll it, and then those dice, whatever you roll on that dice, will signify an ability on the card. If you look at these cards over here, there's different symbols. So if you roll that symbol, it does different stuff depending on what the card text says. And and there's locations that'll pop out that'll do stuff. Like, I think when you come to the game, you pick a certain number of locations and you shuffle them up amongst yourselves, and they come out and play. And it's just it's a fun thing. I love Star Wars, and having this deal, I wish it would have stuck. It was another one of those competitive things that Fantasy Flight did, that they couldn't keep up with the production, and they were several months late on this next set of stuff, and people just went on to the next thing, and then it just kind of died after that. So
I don't get it. Like, it's not like there's a bunch of these games that come out. So Fantasy Flight, I think, I don't know why they can't keep them alive.
Yeah, but I mean, I have so much of this crap and I have some decks built, so when we need to play it sometime, just so you can get a taste, but but
so I can jump into the deep end with you.
Well, no, you just use mine if you like it. I mean, you can buy whole collections of this online.
Oh, I know.
Super expensive. But yeah, I mean, this is just one of those games that should have it should have been a thing.
Yeah.
But like with most of those games, Fantasy Flight, the cooperative card stuff is where it's at,
Yeah.
So
what, their next one is a competitive Star Wars?
Well, that's just an individual deck building game. I mean, it's not even a card game. You're not gonna buy packs. It's just an all-in-one box. It's like Ascension.
Okay.
It's not
it was like another LCG.
No, it's just an in-box game. So that's why I'm not even interested. It's a 1v1 deck build, just like
Ascension. That's right. It was supposed to be like Star Realms or
stuff like that. Yeah. So anyway, my number 97, Star Wars Destiny. It may stay around this area. Just depends on how much I get it played.
Right.
And then.
Okay. My number 96 is actually the second Vita Lasarda game that's actually in here. And this one rose. So it was 105 last year. And so it rose 9 spots. And I think this was one of those things that as I was playing Weather Machine, it started making me think about all of its other games. And Lisboa is, while theme wise, it's not like something I'm super ecstatic about, but gameplay wise, it's also up there. I don't know why I even try to sugarcoat it. If I just say it's Beetle, just expect the board to look like he vomited just game pieces out. And this one is Lisboa. Which as I think whenever I initially did my discussion, I had talked about how the box cover I wasn't a huge fan of, but as I look more into it, I think I really just like that blue and the white marble. Yeah, but this one, it's like if it's almost like if you were ever trying to, if there's an atheist who was ever trying to explain to someone why God hates us, which I guess that would be counterintuitive because they shouldn't believe. But anyway, like Lisbon in 1755 suffered an earthquake of 8.5 to 9 magnitude, which was then followed by a tsunami and then 3 days of fires. It's like, why? Just imagine being alive in that time period and you're living in Lisbon and you're like, I think I'm gonna move. But yeah, so that is kind of your theme, is you are being hired by nobility, members of nobility, where you are trying to basically reconstruct the city of Lisbon, playing cards that allow you to utilize the 3 different types of nobility. I don't remember their specific roles, but in all of his games, I'm kind of noticing a theme where he likes to limit how many workers you actually have. But so you really on your turn you just place 1 worker. Like, it's not that bad. But you have to understand 10 different things before you can even place the 1 worker. Yeah, so what you're doing is over on the right side of the board, that's where actually Lisbon is, and you're kind of putting shops back on the board, like shops that you're going to control of various different types of, cloth or banks or whatever they might be, to still score victory points. But there are the 3 disaster cubes. There's the fire, the earthquake, and the tsunami that you're having to go out and collect and get rid of to be able to clear out the spots to go and place your shops. So it's kind of a small area, not area, I keep saying area control, but it's like kind of, I don't know what that term is, where you're just kind of like taking spots from people. Like where that purple building is, it's like that's a shop area, and it's like, well, I got there first, so that's going to get me this much victory points. I don't know what that is called.
I don't know what the term is either, but yeah, I mean,
I always say area control, but you're not controlling it. You're not trying to control it. You just got there first. So yeah, I mean, you're utilizing just different your licenses and permits and the church, which I would not be using the church if I was living in this time. It's like, you know what? You guys stay away from me. Yeah, like this one, it's just super weird because I looked this up on my Board Game Geek, and I also have this one as at a 7, but which I'm starting to realize most of his games are kind of sitting at 7 out of 10s for me, which for me is still like that's still a good game.
Right.
I own all of his games that are massive style Euros. But yeah, this one equally has quite a bit going on, and yeah, so that's another heavy Euro, Lisboa.
All right. Well, my number 96 is my first new game to this list. And I got it's one that I picked up this last year because my wife thought it looked cool, and it's a nice tile laying game. It's in a series of games. I haven't tried any of the other ones. And that is Streets.
Oh, I'm interested in this because I almost backed their newest one,
Moons or whatever.
Yeah, but I didn't.
This one's really intriguing, and the reason I mean, I could definitely see this one climbing a lot. I haven't played it a ton. It's kind of like your Oathsworn a little bit. Like I've touched it. I knew it was solid. It's one that's definitely going to get a lot more play. But this is one of those games. It's tile laying. You're building streets. It's competitive.
Okay.
There is a good solo mode too. Actually, surprisingly, I haven't even tried the solo mode. But the competitive mode of this is you're building streets, and once a street gets completed, then you score your points. So you have to be really, really strategic on where you place stuff because there is different people in this area. So I had to look at the deal here. So there's hipsters, families, shoppers, and tourists. And so depending on, you're trying to strategically build your streets so that they go there, because once a street builds, they move into those buildings, making them more valuable and score more points. So if you look here, and so you're kind of building your streets out, and you're trying to attract certain people to gain the points. And so there's a lot of variation in this. There's a lot of cards in here. It's just a nice, colorful game too. It almost kind of gives me Machikoro vibes, the way the cards color wise, but it's nothing like Machikoro, obviously. But you're trying to earn the most money to win the game, and you're trying to, I guess, theme wise, you're just kind of like you're an investor trying to populate this city. You're building your streets and stuff.
Is there any reason why some of these tiles are like turned over, like turned to their side?
You can just build. A lot of times we did that because of helps you keep track of who owns them.
Oh, okay. Oh, so your community building the
it's
streets.
competitive. Like you can place like one street can have people from 4 different players if you.
Oh, okay. I thought you were building your own separate. Okay.
No, everybody. The entire thing is so you need to really plan ahead, because when a street scores, it may hurt you if people are going to go into the other people's buildings,
okay,
and stuff like that. So, and I'm intrigued on these too, because after playing this, it makes me want to play because there's villagers. And then there's expansions, several expansions, not several. There's a handful of expansions for villagers, and then there's that Moons that came out, which is dealing with, I think, space
stations. I think
civilizing out in space or on the moon or something like that. But this is a good one. I want to explore it more, just because there's a lot to this that I haven't touched yet. But I just know. I know it's just going to be a good one that's going to get played a lot more. And it comes with I didn't get the Kickstarter, I just bought retail, and it still comes with some expansions in the box, some module expansions and stuff, like asymmetric player abilities.
Nice.
Stuff like that. So this is one to definitely try out if you haven't. And it's an inexpensive game. I think it was only like 20, 25, 30 bucks, I think, to get the whole thing, just retail. But it's a good one for sure.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Yeah, I was kind of seeing who the publisher was, because
it's Sinister Fish.
Yeah, I was kind of seeing if they've done anything else. Nope, not really.
Yeah, I think that's just that's the
bunch of stuff for villagers. Villagers seems to be their that was their first game.
First one, yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, my number 95 is actually a crossover, surprisingly.
On my list, from
my own list, I've crossed over with myself.
It's either, the only ones I've said that you would have played would have been Cubidos or Sagrada.
Right, and it is my number 95 is actually Lords of Waterdeep.
No. Oh yeah.
Nope, it is
Sagrada.
Yeah. So Sagrada last year was 86, and then 2020 it was 75. So it's actually kind of fallen by 10 each year. So next year it'll be 105. Yeah, once again, that has nothing to do, obviously with the quality of the game. This is still a phenomenal dice drafting game. Spatial awareness of placing your dice, because you have strict rules on how you can place your dice. But it's not, if you utilize the cubes to do the special public powers, it's not really all that hard to kind of get what you need. And then yeah, some of the expansions have added obviously more, so you have more public objectives, you have more unique powers, you have more private objectives, a different kind of dice that are in there. Yeah, so this one, I mean, Floodgate Games, I almost always love what they do. Like their games are always exciting to kind of see, and this is definitely something that put them on the map. And I'm actually still in contact with the CEO or the whatever you call them for board game developers or board game publishers. And yeah, so every Gen Con I swing by and talk to him, and yeah, I'm very excited to see what Sagrada Legacy is about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, similar things that you said is repeated by me, so that's my number 95, Sagrada.
All right, my number 95 is one. When I said there was 4 new ones on my list, there's 3. This one just stayed the same. This one stayed the same. That's why I had it the same color as my new ones. So
okay.
So this one actually is identical to what it was last year as far as the number.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it has fallen. Like 4 years ago it was 17, then it was 23, and now it's 95. So and we actually talked about it just a little bit ago when comparing it to one of your picks. And that is Dinosaur Island.
Okay.
So this one, it probably is always going to be on this list unless something changes, even though it's towards the tail end.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those that there's a lot going on with it, but like I said when we talked about the other one, it's one of those games that's really easy to teach for me, because you can teach it in 4. It's almost like 4 mini games, or 4. So you teach the drafting of the dice, and you teach the action sequence and stuff like that, and then the whole the drawing the meeples out of the bag at that last step, and everything. It's just you just teach all that stuff, and then after one round of doing that, then everybody pretty much. I mean, it's a pretty simple game once you get through a round, and just kind of see how things flow. So that's one of those things, because some games you get into and you just don't. You feel like you're teaching right over the next step, and everything. This one you can take it a section at a time. Okay, we're going to do this. We're just walking through this one part of the game, and that's separate, and everything. And this was one of those Pandasaurus games. This was my first, I believe, Pandasaurus game that I got. I did the Kickstarter for it, got the metal coins, all that cool stuff. And the plastic dinosaur meeples, which are always cool.
Hey, your shirt's the same color as them.
Huh?
I said your shirt's the same color as them.
It's actually, my shirt's actually red. I don't know why.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, it looks super pink.
Yeah, it's red.
Gotcha.
but yeah, so it's just one of those solid games, and and I played World. I prefer this one just because I like the structured, where it breaks it up and stuff. For me, and that's probably like you said, you either probably like one. A lot of people like one and not the other, vice versa.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a really neat idea. That when this came out, it was very creative at the time.
Yeah, especially because they hit that mark of like the 90s.
Yeah,
they did a really good job.
Bracelet and the pods and all that stuff for the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one that every time I pull it out is a blast. And I'm all this. I don't even own the Totally Liquid expansion. I need to get that too.
Oh, that one's good.
Because I just have the base.
Yeah.
Starter version. So I do have Roaring Right too. But
that one's also good.
Yeah.
That one's surprisingly good.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I just looked up what they're ranked on Board Game Geek, and this one is a 7.6 and World is a 7.5.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that.
They're so close.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my 95 Dinosaur Island. We're kind of a crossover in a weird way.
In a very slight way, because they are similar.
Right.
Okay.
That'll work.
My number 94, this one shocked me so much at where it is placed, but yet I understand why it's where it's at. And last year, this might be my biggest drop. Um, Last year it was 17.
Oh wow.
So it fell 77 spots, and in 2020 it was 25. So it was always at the high end, and I wonder if it's just because that they haven't really supported it as much lately. They made a separate game, so this is actually kind of a combination as well. But it's so bizarre because this is tied. Like I always had this and another game kind of next to each other, but clearly one has won out, and that is
Ah,
Detective, a modern crime board game. So, I mean, this one does have support. Like there are expansions. So season one, there is like they've done these signature series where they have like a specific designer um talk about what they or not talk about, but write a mystery.
mm-hmm.
And I mean, this one is, I mean, it's still amazing. They made a website specifically for this, so you can, like, you really feel like you're playing as a detective, utilizing, DNA and fingerprints and all that, and cross-referencing that with data you found before. You go through really a deck of cards to kind of solve a crime, and they, throw in websites and pictures and stuff. So, out of all the games I own, this is kind of one of the ones that I could feel like actually having like a whiteboard out or a cork board, like trying to draw
Mm-hmm.
strings, because the ones that they have, like the scenarios that they have, are really intricate and in depth. Um, then they made another one called Vienna Connection, which is basically this game but set in the Cold War. And then they did Batman Everybody Lies, which is this game but Batman. So they have all these weird things. It's just kind of odd at how they've gone about it. Instead of actually just making more scenarios like the Sherlock Holmes games, they've done this. Oh, Rob Davio has made a case, and this other designer
Mm-hmm.
has made a case, and now we have the season one kind of thing, which is three separate things, but we don't have a season two. So it's all feels kind of disjointed to where you understand that this is the same game, um, but yeah, like I'm not really. I was shocked when I saw how far it had fallen, but yet I'm like, no, yeah, I guess. Like, I haven't touched it. And the game I was talking about that I always couldn't decide whether I liked more this one or Chronicles of Crime.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I play Chronicles of Crime a lot more. I actually just played it not too long ago, and uh, I feel like Chronicles of Crime still gives you that same itch without you having to burn your brain over trying to solve it. Because these ones you're like, oh boy, let's buckle up. So
Right.
there's definitely a time and place for those kinds of games. This is still wonderfully crafted. I think their cases are always extremely solid, except for one. The oh, what was Petty Officers? Yeah, that was their last signature series that I thought was just kind of ass.
Yeah.
But the one they did before that, the one that Rob Davio designed, was really good. That was like set in the 80s. That was cool.
Yeah. I
So yeah,
still have this in shrink. I need to play it still.
it's still really good. Like I love these whodunit murder mystery games. Like this one, Suspect, Chronicles of Crime, Sherlock Holmes. Um, like there's just something about them, kind of like the Unlock games, that I just am always excited to try them out, whether or not the case is going to be good or bad. They're always just something that I enjoy. So
Right.
yeah, very curious to see if they're even going to support it, like if they're going to do season two or
Maybe.
whatever. But here it is at 94.
All right. Well, my number 94, I debated on whether I should leave it at this spot when after it got ranked. Because I've only played it once and it was solo,
Okay.
but I can see so much greatness in this game. I know this is going to shoot up once I play it with other people and play more solo because it's a game that you've talked up a lot. Um, I've played other games from this designer, and I finally got this one played. The theme I didn't. The theme was kind of what got me from not wanting to really jump in on it. But then after I played it that one time, I'm like, yep, this is gonna be one I'm gonna have to explore more. Oh, there's your picture for your detective. Sorry.
I thought that was your pick.
No. All right.
I
Anyway,
was like, what?
my number 94 is Great Western Trail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
God,
this
man,
is
I don't know if I reacted to that. I hope I did because that was so funny.
yeah, that was my bad. But yeah, this is one I've only played it the one time solo, but
Solo's so good.
it makes like after I got done playing it that one time, you know when a game is good and gripping when you can sit there and think about it afterwards. You know, like what you could have done
Yeah.
differently and stuff.
Mhm.
I never played the first edition. This is my first jump into it. I haven't touched, obviously, like I said, multiplayer or anything like that.
Mhm.
But I like Maracaibo and all those games. So then this one, I want to try his stuff with this, and again, great stuff. It's I like the cowboy hats on the meeples too. That's funny.
Yeah, they did that because like they wanted more, I guess, representation with the different colored meeples, so you can tell which player piece. But it's cute.
Yeah, I like the art on the cards. I like how they kind of have that old timey realist, stuff, and all the obstacles you run in between when you're trying to get to Kansas City and stuff. You could probably actually give more details on this than I could because, like I said, I've just played it the one time, so I don't know how multiplayer differs.
The solo variant I found to be extremely well done. It's one of those solos that's like, hey, it even says on the cover of being like, hey, you want to test out some strategy? Play the solo variant because Sam, I think is who you're up against.
Yeah, I think
he
so.
he plays almost like a real person. The solo variant or not the solo variant, the multiplayer is, I mean, you can't really screw people over. Like you can't, I mean, yeah, you can, I guess, take cows that they want or build a building that might cause them to have to pay you a coin if you walk by, but that's really the gist of it. So so you're not missing like a whole lot by
Okay, that's
playing
good.
multiplayer.
That's good. I just this is just one of those, man, that you talk about Lacerda and Fister's kind of the one when I see that name, I know I want to try it, because I dismissed this game totally, just because of the theme.
Yeah.
But then after playing Maracaibo and his other stuff, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot because I like how he makes his games.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying is like Vila Losarda is a master of designing heavy Euros, but like I said, their experiences, like Great Western Trail's a 10 out of 10 game. It's so fucking good. Alexander Pfister, I would easily play his games multiple times. And Losarda, it's like once a year, maybe once or twice a year, or maybe if I'm showcasing a game. Like, yeah, I mean, in terms of production, Lacerda knocks Pfister's games out of the park.
Yeah.
But he's just one of those sweet spot heavier Euro designers, but it's like not like where you just want to have a cigarette after playing.
Yeah, this is about where because I haven't played a Lacerda and like this is kind of my upper wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Unless something clicks with me, like if I ever play a Lacerda and it clicked, then that's one thing. But with me actually learning myself, teaching myself and stuff, this is about the level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and like I said, this one will go up. I guarantee this will go up just because, like I said, I've only played it the one time and playing solo and having fun with it. This is definitely going to be a riser for sure.
Yep. 100%. Well, I'm glad I can turn you on to it.
Yep.
All right. My number 93 is the second, let me double check, is the second and final game that rose. Which I was actually very surprised, but I guess once again, matching up to various games whenever you include all of them will, I guess, result in this because last year it was 143. And then now it's at 93. And in 2020, it was actually 101. It was my honorable mention in 2020. But this is also one of those games that as I talk about like Euros and various after playing various types of games, and I'm always referencing this one. I'm like, oh, have you played this? And usually it's no, but it's a solid one, and that is boom. The Voyages
Yes.
of Marco Polo. Now, I have not played the second one.
I haven't either. No
I
need.
don't even know if it's like what.
I said no need.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've heard that people like it better than this one, but it seems to be kind of the same one. Voyages of Michael, the Voyages of Michael Marco Polo is a dice work replacement game. And of course, as with most Euros, it's whoever can get the most points. And go to the next picture. And each of these locations has basically a kind of rule about them on how you have to place dice. Oh, it can't be similar to one that's already there. It has to be equal. It has to be higher than the one next to it. And you're either going to get money, you're going to get, goods that you need to then kind of go out and travel whenever you are moving Marco throughout wherever, Europe, I think.
Kind of. It's
yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember
China
the theme.
and Europe and all that
Is
stuff.
it? Okay.
It's over all that stuff. Yeah.
Gotcha. You can go there and spend those resources to place buildings, which those buildings have various powers. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. You're also trying to fulfill contracts. The shtick of this game, if that was it, probably wouldn't be here. The shtick of this game is that every player has a busted or overpowered player power, where it could be like, hey, you can use any dice to go anywhere. Doesn't matter. It's like, hey, anytime you gain a good, you gain 10 points or whatever it might be. Some ridiculous power. And yet, because everyone's powers are overpowered, none of them are overpowered, is kind of how it feels. You're looking at your power thinking it sucks and looking at everyone else's, and you're like, man, I wish I had that one, while they're thinking the same thing about yours. I don't know how they did it, but I think that's something that more games need to start doing. Like, it's just because so many, it's just kind of like player powers you get are kind of like lame. Oh, you get a coin at the start of your turn.
Yeah.
Ooh, whoa. But this one is just, as I was comparing it to others, I was like, yeah, this one's good. This one's really good. And yet, I think it has a few expansions that were like really hard to get, because I think this game came out in German first.
Yeah.
And then overseas. Like I said, haven't touched Marco Polo 2, probably won't, because this game doesn't get played often enough as it is. But yeah, Rose, what I say, 50 something spaces.
Yeah.
40. Yeah, Rose 50 spaces exactly. So
yeah, that's a good one. I wish I could find that expansion that had because it just has more of the
player powers. Yeah,
player power type things. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I think I have it. I think I have the expansions for it, and I think I actually had to get them from overseas.
Yeah.
But yeah, here we are. It's a very solid, smaller, easier to understand Euro.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, my number 93 is a game that has fallen off a little bit. I think it's just because I just haven't played it a whole lot, even as solid as it still is. It went from 40 to 25 to 38 to now 93. So it did drop 55 spaces this year. Still really enjoy the game. It's just didn't hit the table that much. And that is Legendary Encounters Alien. It's one of those things. You can only play through the movie things so many times.
Yeah.
Before and I think that's one of the things, like, you play through the movies, you see the scenarios where it is different because the cards come out different ways. It's still, you're playing the same overall storyline. Do that. So
yeah.
I
almost
don't really
makes you want to just go watch the movies instead.
Yeah, and I don't have a ton of I maybe only have one of the expansions that have come out for it, because they've come out with a few expansions. One of the expansions, half of it I won't even use, because it brings in the whole where the first player that dies is the queen. So then you can have the queen set more cards for that and stuff. So, but this is that unique going on that legendary system, and I don't even own Marvel Legendary anymore either.
Same. Yeah.
just because Marvel Champions took it out and stuff like that. So what was cool about this though, these encounters games, different from that, is they had that top track, and the cards will come out face down, and you could spin some of your attack to scan to flip it over, causing possibly things to happen, or you could find objectives, stuff like that. Still really fun to play and everything, and it's not an easy game by any means. They also, these encounters games come with a avatar, so you get to pick kind of a player power, and they come with a card, and a special card for your deck, and everybody starts with the
Art's
same
really
deck.
good.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a solid, great game. I love deck builders. I think it's just kind of played out, like
Yeah.
with the theme a little bit.
Yeah, because I played this once with you, and I think we went through like
Two of the movies,
I think the 2 movies, and
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
this is a deck builder game.
yeah, and I really enjoy it, but like I I don't think I played it this year. So I mean that's one main reason why I think it fell, is just because there's just so many other things,
Yeah.
and it may jump right back up. If I play it, it may just fly right back up. Who knows? But
Right.
now it dropped those 55 spots, and it's still in the top 100. So there you go.
All right.
And I have no. I didn't even try to throw in any of the Marvel deals into this and cross contaminate the themes.
Oh God, I know.
You can, but it's still
Yeah.
it's stupid.
That would be that would be a mess. I mean, it might be fun. Hey, let's throw in Hulk.
Yeah, but if
Just
you
to
throw
see.
freaking Wolverine in there, I mean, in real life, Wolverine would mutilate those guys.
Oh, I know. Yeah, yeah. It wouldn't even be close. Unless they're acid blood can burrow through
That's true.
adamantium,
Maybe.
but
Who knows?
probably not.
Let's
Probably
not
not.
get nerd rage debates going on your comment section here.
I know. All right. My number 92 is the final new one on this list. Most likely going to be significantly higher on yours. Depends on how often you've played it. This is a game that is built off a previous system of one of their earlier games, but this is just done way better.
This low,
huh?
This low, huh?
I haven't played it all that much. Like
Okay.
solo only games are not going to jump up super high. Now, I plan on actually playing each one of these boxes and putting them on the channel. So this will definitely be higher next year just because I'll have played it that much. Not saying that solo only games aren't higher, but haven't touched this one a whole lot. It's also a niche, well, not really a niche theme, but like it's a theme that I'm like only really into a specific time of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my number 92 is Final Girl. Final Girl, like I said, is a solo only game built off of their previous system of Hostage Negotiator. Once I got this one in, I was like, well, don't need Hostage Negotiator anymore. Especially after playing the career mode of that, I was kind of done with it. But this one is individualized by having a location. It's modular. You have a location, you have a big bad, and you can mix and match whatever. You can put Hans, which is the pig face guy in the back, and you can put him in the nightmare realm that you have as whatever. That's supposed to be Freddy, but it's not Freddy. But it is I was gonna say deck. It's not a deck builder, but it's basically a survival game. You are running around that location, meeting various objectives while also trying to defeat the big bad using those cards. And you have those cards. Whenever you roll dice, you're trying to get, symbols that let you, like the long rest card there lets you, if you roll 2 stars, then you heal 4, but you lose some time because you're taking a long rest. And it's just so incredibly thematic. They did such a good job of encapsulating the Final Girl like shtick of schlocky horror movies, and there's just more game here. Like they took that core system from Hostage and just blew it up with actual game mechanisms to make it to where you have to go to locations to get items, and then you can use those items against the boss, and the boss has his own special rules and his own unique deck, and the location has its own unique thing. There's a lot here, and yeah, so I'll be showcasing more of this on the channel at some point to showcase, the different locations and the different boxes, because they kind of do come as one box VHS set, which I think is super cool of how they did that. But you can mix and match just to have a whatever kind of game. But yeah, that's my number 92. Final Girl.
We might talk on this, down the list of ways. We'll see.
In your top 10, number 1.
It's not
like,
my number 1. I'll guarantee.
I'd be like, all right, let's calm down.
All right. So my number 92 is the other new game on my list. And I think I remember you saying you played it and you didn't care for it. I may be wrong with that, but
okay.
It is a Johnny Pat game. And it kind of has this whole a Western frontier theme to it. And I really have enjoyed it. I need to play it more. I've played it a couple of times and I've really had fun with it. And that is Coloma.
No, I didn't like this game.
Yeah, I didn't think you did. I
couldn't tell you why. It's been so long. I don't remember. I don't retain my hate for games as much. It's just like, I don't like this and I move on.
Yeah, I think with this one, it had some unique twists on some of the mechanics. So like, I'll just go ahead and show, like, with this board, you can do it's a 3-round game. So you put your workers down and everything, and then there's kind of this it's kind of hard to explain. When you reveal where you've put all your workers, everything, then you got to check, see if there's a majority that chose the same action.
Yeah.
And then if it's a bust, so it disables this. I guess they call it a boom bonus. But then the players take turns performing the actions. So like you gain resources, you move wagons around. You can build bridges, stuff like that. You can get
defend
gunmen.
The town.
Yeah, you get gunmen. Yeah, because at the end you go through the deals, and once it becomes high noon, then everybody kind of puts all their gunmen in to defend the town against the outlaws. There's outlaws that come in. So you have to have enough gunmen to do that, and then you get your part of the rewards. But it just lasts 3 rounds total. And then but what's cool about it is it's a fairly quick moving game. And you have your action selection stuff. You're managing resources. There's some engine building going on. You also are kind of building a tableau of stuff, so you can
bridges right in the water underneath.
Right.
You
can gain more actions. You can kind of mess with the rules a little bit when you're, depending on what kind of cards you have down and stuff. There's a lot going on. It's not a super long game, but it has a solo mode that I enjoy. I've done it twice solo and once with like 3, I think. But it's a unique enough deal, and who knows if it's going to be on here next year. I just started. I've played it these last couple times over maybe the last like 3 or 4 months. So we'll see. But for now, it kind of gives me that weird feel, even though this is Western and it's not.
What kind of weird feel do we
need
to talk?
Well, because this is the same guy and company that did. Oh shit, I lost it now. That game that I showed you that had like all the different, where you were making swords and you were creating stuff. Merchant's Cove. This is the same. So it kind of has that same weird look to it, the vibe to it. I know it's not the same kind of game, but just it's one of those, like Merchant's Cove was on my list when I first played it too, and then it's not now. So this
That's
one
getting an expansion.
Yeah, I saw it. So this may be the same way,
Yeah.
so but I've
Yeah.
enjoyed what I played of it so far.
I can't remember. It's been, I mean, I think this came out like 5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
And I felt like there was a meta to it from what I remember. I think that was one of the reasons I didn't like it. Could also just been the people I was playing with it at the time. But yeah, there was just something about it that like I didn't hate it. Like,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can actually probably tell you what I gave it. But you know how people are whenever oh no, it came out 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a ranked actually. Oh wait, unless
Gotcha.
I have, because there's two. Coloma Deluxe Edition maybe is the one I ranked. Yeah, I gave it a 5, which is
Yeah.
average.
Yeah.
But you know, if it's not an 8 or a 9, people think that you just despise them. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the, if someone were like to ask me to play it, like if they're like, hey, we really need another player, I probably would.
Yeah.
Be like, sure, but I'm not gonna go out of my way.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All right. My number one, my number 91. You know what? I don't really want to do the top 100 anymore. My number 91 has been kind of in the same realm of scores in 2021. It was number 90, and so it fell one spot. And in 2020, it was number 100. So it's just kind of been in this area. And I think whenever I was playing this, because I did play it this year, because I think I finally put it on the channel, I was comparing it to all the other types of this game that have come out. Like I said, I love this genre. And it made me realize that, yeah, while this is a more archaic form of this genre, the writing and the storytelling that they do, I think, is just one of the best to really engross you in this theme. So my number 91 is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. This was the very first game of the genre that I got. The box art looked way different, and they have released four big box sets of, I think, 10 scenarios. This is the cover of the first one. This is the reprint of the first Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. So like I said, this is archaic. You have, I don't know if there's what kind of picture is going to be next. Oh, perfect. Yeah. So this is it. This is as analog as you can get, where you get a newspaper, you get a map, you get the story, the scenario book, and you get like a ledger of like an address book. And yeah, you're basically given a opening scenario of what the case is, and it's up to you to go out and figure it out. And you have, like I said, the scenario book of like, okay, well, we want to go to the scene of the crime. That's in the northwest area at 90. So you find it in the book of 90 northwest, and that if it's in the book, that's a lead. So that's kind of where they add in the game. And so you are trying to get less leads than Sherlock, and you're trying to, so if you have more leads, you lose points. If you have less, I can't remember if you even gave points. I'm very, very rarely higher than Sherlock. But then you have to answer questions at the end. And so once you answer the questions, that's going to be where a majority of your score comes. But even though it's super analog, the writing is so good. It's really good. This is one game that if they were to deluxify it, not in terms of components, because I think I actually kind of like this, if they did like a foreteller narration app for these scenarios where you just looked for 90 Northwest and it was read off in like this time period, oh man, that would just be so good. And that's kind of where the other games are better. Like obviously it's analog, so, or not analog, it's digital with a website and an app. So like they're just overall done more modern.
Right.
But these ones are, it's still sticking around. Like if they were to release another Sherlock Holmes box set, I would buy it, because so far there really haven't been any misses. I've played a ton of these scenarios and they've always been different. Out of like the 40, I've probably done 10, and it's not like I'm sitting there playing through the 10 and being like, this is just like the other one. So they keep them fresh, and it's still been relevant. I don't know if it ever fell out of my top 100. I think it's like in 20 I'd have to do some more research, which I'm not going to do. Oh yeah, like even in 2019 it was there at number 2019 it was at 78. So it's fallen obviously, but still sticking around.
Now, you may have said this, but is this one a good solo experience?
Yeah, I think all of these whodunit are great solo experiences just because they all have the same type of beat in terms of it's real. There's no turns, so it's
Right.
just the community group of like, hey, we can go to the scene of the crime, or we can go talk to his wife. Like we can go to the police and talk to them. We can go talk. Like it's just really where in what direction do you want to go to? And so it's it is a shared storytelling activity. So if you don't mind, reading to yourself and trying to solve the mystery by yourself, then yeah, I mean this one chronicles Sherlock Holmes, Batman, Vienna, suspect, all of them will work extremely well as a solo. None of them require you to have another person. In fact, I actually prefer these as a 2-player game, just to at least share the experience with one other person.
Okay.
So yeah. So that's my number 91, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective.
Work. All right. My number 91 is a game that is stayed relatively the same place it was last year. It's like, and then the 2 years prior to that, it stayed about the same. It was 37 and 36 a couple years ago, and now it's 87 and right now 91. So they're staying close each 2 years, So we'll see where it goes from now. And then the main reason it's staying down here is because it just doesn't get played a whole lot because you can't play it solo, and I've played it with other people and they didn't really care for it. And that is Space. I don't have the newest expansion for this. They've tried it. The last couple expansions they've had for this game have tried to add a little story to it. So like when you play it multiplayer, it kind of adds a little bit of theme to it more than just, rolling dice and doing stuff. But this uses that dice rolling mechanic, kind of like Machikoro and stuff like that, where you're gonna be rolling your dice, gaining resources and stuff. If you look, the one thing that's weird about this game is the cards, because the cards are like chewing gum shape. They're just like little rectangles.
Oh yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah. So
unchewed gum.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but you get these ships and they dock.
My cards are all crumpled and wet.
They dock at your board, and then you can purchase cards to come in, and they flip over and kind of tuck in at the top. So then you just get that extra benefit as the game goes, and you're trying to spread it out amongst your 0 to 12 spots, just like you would with any of these kind of games, like the Valeria Card Kingdoms. You want to try to have widespread, or you can go all in on a couple of numbers and score big time if people, if you roll that number. The difference between this and that, though, is, as in Card Kingdoms, you're getting stuff every single time people roll. And like Machikoro in this, it's when you roll. So it changes it up a little bit that way. The one thing I will say about this game is there's one card that I don't ever play with in this game, and I think it's the one that turned off one of the groups that I played with, because there's a card that it's expensive as hell and you have to do a lot of stuff to do it, but if you get that card and dock it, it just says you win.
Yeah, don't you have to have 4 things ahead of it, like go off in a row or something?
Well, you have to. There's energy cubes.
Okay.
You can kind of see down here, there's some things have these little squares that you put these energy cubes on. That card has 4 of those cubes, I think. So once you've produced enough energy, and it'll have 4 of these little blue boxes, and once you have a power cube on each of those, then you win. So there's steps to it. So people, once you buy that card and put it in your dock, people know what you're going for.
There's nothing that anyone can do to stop that.
Right. So I mean, I don't ever play with that card just because it's just dumb. But this is there's so much variation in this game with stuff, and I like that they're adding those little bit of story expansions to it. That I really enjoy it. It's just falling because it doesn't get played, because anybody I play it with doesn't like it. So I guess I'm just kind of the lone dude. They could do wonders if they could come out with some sort of a cooperative / solo expansion for it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's
you know,
this was one. I mean, those kinds of games, like there's, I mean, like you mentioned, Machikoro, this one, Valeria. It's like I just need one, and I chose Valeria.
and it is.
Valeria just
And I like Valeria a lot better than this too. I mean, you'll spoiler,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
that's
Space Base is solid, and they've supported it, which is good.
yeah, and maybe that's why this is dropped also because I don't know when Card Kingdoms came out, but 2 years ago is when it dropped all the way from 36 to 87, and then it's been staying. So, and maybe that's why
So in
because I got
2020,
Card Kingdoms late. So,
oh, Valeria Card Kingdoms came out in 2016.
oh wow, see, I bought it a couple years after it was out though because
Yeah,
it was
Space
I
Base
actually
came
I
out
bought
in
it.
20. Space Base came out in 2018.
Actually, that actually makes sense because I bought Card Kingdoms at 2019 Origins. So
Oh, that would have been their Shadow Veil.
right, but I that's when I bought it at their booth, all their stuff. So that's probably
Gotcha.
what happened then, because then it probably just knocked us down because that
Yeah.
one could be played solo and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, my number 91 was Space Base.
All right. And that is it for this segment, everyone. We we are back doing the top 100 this year, so stick around for the next segment of 90 to 81 and inching, of course, closer to our top 10. These are always fun to do, just to talk about games that maybe people aren't talking about anymore, but they're still around. There's still always great games. So yeah, until next time, let us know what you think of these games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.